Hey, what's up, everyone? If you own a Switch or a Switch 2 and you're looking for the best single-player experiences out there, you're in the right place. We're counting down 20 games that are genuinely worth your time.
You play as Mina, a mouse inventor who gets shipwrecked on a cursed island called Tenebrous Isle. The spark generators she designed are failing, the island is being consumed by darkness, and a mysterious rival named Thorn keeps getting in your way. The whole thing is structured like a classic Zelda top-down, action-adventure, 6 dungeons to clear, a central town hub. But what sets Mina apart is her hollowing ability. She can dig underground to avoid enemies, cross hazards, or move through walls. It completely changes how you approach both combat and puzzles. The weapon variety is real 2 daggers, a chain mace, an explosive hammer, and you unlock sidearms and trinkets to build out your playstyle. The game leans Souls-like in that dying. Without your spark resource means losing your currency, but you can get it back by killing whoever took it. Difficulty is no joke early on, but the game gives you hundreds of modifiers to tune the experience however you like. Kirby's first proper 3D platformer, and it sticks the landing. A mysterious vortex pulls Kirby into what looks like a post-apocalyptic version of Earth-overgrown malls, abandoned cities, rusted theme parks. The Beast Pack has kidnapped hundreds of Waddle Dees, and you team up with an adorable little creature named Elfilin to rescue them. You still inhale enemies to copy their abilities, and those abilities can be upgraded with blueprints you find throughout levels. But the real crowd pleaser is mouthful mode. Kirby stretches his body around objects like cars, vending machines, or traffic cones, temporarily becoming them with all their weird physics. Driving a car is Kirby, spitting water from a water tower, becoming an archway to cross a gap. It's absurd and it works. The game starts lighthearted, but the world gets darker and stranger as you dig deeper, and the story ends with a genuinely emotional payoff. Astral Chain, set in 2078 in a megacity called the Ark. Humanity's last refuge after interdimensional monsters called chimeras started destroying the planet. You play as a new recruit in an elite police unit called Neuron. The big mechanic here is your Legion, a chained chimera that you control alongside your main character simultaneously. You fight with both, use the chain to bind enemies, pull yourself across gaps, or clothesline incoming attackers. Each of 5 legions you unlock plays completely differently and opens up new puzzle solutions in the environment. Between the action sequences, you also do detective work, scanning crime scenes, taking statements, rescuing civilians. Platinum games at their most experimental, equal parts Bayonetta-style action and a kind of future cop procedural vibe. The story keeps escalating with bigger threats and some solid twists, and the character design by manga artist Masakazu Katsura is wild and stylish. Samus is back in a 2D Metroidvania that feels like the series at its absolute sharpest. The Federation receives footage of a live X-parasite the alien organism Samus was supposed to have wiped out. She's sent to planet ZDR alone to investigate, gets ambushed and stripped of her powers almost immediately, and the game begins. The planet is crawling with Emmy robots' unstoppable machines that hunt you through their zones, and your only goal is to run until you can find a way to destroy them. These sections are tense in a way few games pull off. Beyond that, the core Metroid loop is here in its best form. Explore, find an upgrade, backtrack to reach places that were previously locked, repeat. The counter system from Samus returns, but flows way more naturally now you can counter, while moving, sliding, vaulting. The bosses are some of the best in the series. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, a full rebuild of a PlayStation RPG from 2000, now with gorgeous diorama-style visuals inspired by Akira Toriyama's iconic art. You play as a fisherman's son living on the only remaining island in the world. Everyone just accepts this as normal until you and your friends find a way to travel back in time. Turns out entire civilizations have been sealed away by a malevolent force, and each one needs to be restored. The game is structured like a collection of self-contained stories. You arrive in a region, live through its tragedy, help the people, and bring it back. It's emotionally rich, surprisingly funny at times, and genuinely sad in others. The job system lets you dual-class your characters, assign 2 vocations at once, and pull abilities from both, and you can preemptively wipe out weaker enemies on the overworld without a fight. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. This is the story of Cloud Strife, a mercenary ex-soldier hired by an eco-terrorist group called Avalanche to blow up reactors in the city of Midgar Reactors, owned by the Shinra Corporation, which is literally draining the planet of its life energy. But it doesn't stay that simple. The world expands, the characters deepen, and by the end you're invested in ways the original game set up, and this one builds on. Combat is real-time action, but with a layered ATB system, attacks fill a gauge you spend on abilities, spells, and items, and switching between party members mid-fight adds strategy. The port runs at a consistent 30 frames per second in both handheld and docked, PS5 tier visuals in a lot of spots thanks to DLSS, and includes the Yuffie side episode from the PS5 version. Load times are fast, the campaign runs 30+ hours, and it plays like a dream.
Nothing to it.
Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. You play as V, fully customizable, a mercenary in a near-future megalopolis that runs on drugs, corpo power, and chrome. A job gone wrong leaves you sharing your head with Johnny Silverhand, a dead rock legend played by Keanu Reeves who's slowly overriding your consciousness. You've got a terminal condition and a city full of people who want you dead or used. The world is enormous, the side missions are as good as the main story, sometimes better, and the choices you make subtly shift who shows up and what options you have. Gameplay is first-person action, RPG. Shoot, hack, or go full melee. Cybernetic upgrades let you double jump, slow time, or deploy mantis blades from your arms. Runs in quality mode at 30 frames per second handheld, and toggles up to 40 frames per second in performance mode. The Phantom Liberty expansion is included. Hundreds of hours of content, and you can take it anywhere.
Put up lead! We'll get you! ¡Sigan a su madre!
Pokémon Pokopia. The Pokémon Company finally made its Animal Crossing. Except instead of a deserted island, you're rebuilding a world where humans have mysteriously vanished, only Pokémon remain, scattered and lost. You play as Ditto, who shapeshifts into human form, and alongside a guide named Professor Tangrowth. Your goal is to restore the land, bring back the Pokémon, and figure out what happened. You terraform the environment, plant grass, break walls, build houses, craft furniture, and create biomes that attract specific Pokémon. Each Pokémon teaches you new abilities. Squirtle gives you water, Scyther helps clear vegetation, Bulbasaur helps you plant. Every creature you attract has a personality and role in the ecosystem, and watching your world fill up with Pokémon going about their day is genuinely satisfying. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Mario and the crew visit the Flower Kingdom at the invitation of Prince Florian. Bowser crashes the party and emerges with Florian's castle using the power of a Wonder Flower. And now you have to traverse 6 worlds to stop him. The levels are tight, imaginative, and constantly doing something you haven't seen before. Each level hides a Wonder Flower, and touching it triggers a Wonder effect. The level completely transforms. Piranha Plants start singing opera. The camera shifts to a side-scrolling segment inside a wall. The world tilts and gravity goes sideways. Every single one is a surprise. On top of that, the badge system lets you equip 1 perk per level double jump, floating cap, wall climb, grappling hook, giving you room to approach levels differently. The Wonder effects alone make this one of the most creative platformers ever made. a must-own. Metroid Prime Remastered. Samus tracks space pirate activity to the planet Talon 4 and immediately loses most of her equipment. From that point, it's a first-person exploration game with methodical, atmospheric combat. You scan everything alien creatures, Chozo ruins, space pirate experiments, and the game's story is almost entirely told through those scans. It rewards patience and curiosity. The world is split into wildly different biomes, ancient temples, volcanic craters, Arctic research stations, and unlocking new abilities gradually opens up each area to deeper exploration. The lock-on combat keeps things from turning into a traditional shooter, and the morph ball shifts you to third person for puzzles and traversal. Runs at 60 frames per second on Switch. The remaster updates textures, lighting, and models dramatically. It looks genuinely modern. Twin-stick controls were added alongside the original single-stick layout. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The second part of the FF7 Remake trilogy, and the most ambitious. Where Remake was contained in Midgar, Rebirth throws the doors open. Cloud and the crew leave the city behind and start a journey across a massive world, multiple open zones to explore, each with their own side quests, boss hunts, a genuinely compelling card game called Queen's Blood, and minigames ranging from dirt biking to piano recitals. The combat builds on Remake with synergy skills. Tag team attacks between party members that deal spectacular damage and unlock bonuses. Every playable character fights completely differently. Tifa is about close-range combos. Barret is a long-range attacker with rhythm-based mechanics. Red 13 plays like a glass cannon. The story continues to remix and expand on the original in wild and unpredictable ways.
Well, that's that.
Fire Emblem Three Houses. You play as Byleth, a mercenary who becomes a professor at Garreg Mach Monastery, a school for the children of three rival kingdoms. You choose which house to lead, and that choice shapes the entire story. Different students, different war, different ending. The first half has you teaching students, building bonds, and preparing for conflicts. The second half drops the pretense and goes to war. The tactical combat is turn-based on a grid, layered with weapon classes, battalion commands, and the Divine Pulse rewind mechanic that lets you undo mistakes. You spend time outside battle fishing, gardening, eating meals, and deepening relationships that have real consequences in combat. The characters are memorable, the voice acting is strong, and every route reveals something different about the world.
Each battle a chance to grow.
The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom. Hyrule broke. Ancient ruins fell from the sky. A malevolent force woke beneath the surface, and Link loses his arm and the Master Sword in the opening minutes. What follows is one of the most creative open-world games ever made. The new abilities Ultra Hand, Fuse, Recall, Ascend let you grab and combine objects to build basically anything. Vehicles, weapons, contraptions for crossing gaps or defeating enemies. The game doesn't tell you how to solve things. It trusts you to figure it out and then rewards you when you do something it didn't expect. The Sky Islands and underground depths add entirely new vertical layers to the already massive Hyrule map. The story unfolds through memory-like visions and optional temples that each introduce a new mechanic. It's a 60 to 80 hour game that still somehow feels dense at the end. Pragmata, a brand new IP from Capcom set on a future moon colony called the Cradle. You play as Hugh, a space engineer investigating why communications from the settlement have gone dark. A moonquake kills his crew, a small android girl named Diana wakes up, and the two of them are trapped together figuring out what happened while the facility's AI systems go haywire. The combat mechanic is genuinely unique. Hugh's guns can't hurt the robots directly, but Diana can hack them. When you target an enemy, a small grid appears, you guide a cursor through it to unlock the robot's armor, and then Hugh unloads. Different weapons work on different nodes. You can freeze enemies, remove obstacles from the hack grid, or knock them over to buy yourself time. The interplay between shooting and hacking never gets old.
Jump, Hugh! Watch out! There's...
Hades 2. You play as Melanoa, daughter of Hades, trained sorceress fighting through the Greek underworld and beyond to reach Kronos, the titan of time who has taken over her family's domain. Every run is a maze of rooms filled with monsters. Clear a room, choose a boon from the gods. Zeus, Hestia, Demeter, and build a synergy that carries you further each time. Melanoa uses Magicka for her cast attacks, adding a resource management layer the original didn't have. The weapons are creative, the boons interact with each other in ways you spend hours discovering, and the Arcana card system gives you passive buffs and unlockable combos. Every failed run adds to the story characters react to what you did, new dialogue unlocks, relationships develop. The voice acting is phenomenal across the entire cast. On Switch 2, the game runs at 60 frames per second handheld and up to 120 frames per second when docked on a compatible display.
Caskets.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Calamity Ganon took over Hyrule Castle, and the divine beasts that were meant to fight him were turned against the kingdom. Your job is to take it all back, but nobody tells you how. The whole map is open from the start. You can go anywhere, climb any surface, cut down trees and use them as bridges, cook ingredients into meals, paraglide off mountains, use physics and chemistry to solve puzzles in ways the developers never anticipated. The Sheikah Slate gives you abilities Magnesis to move metal objects, Stasis to freeze things in time, bombs, ice pillars, and the shrines scattered everywhere teach you to use them in creative ways. The weapon durability system forces you to keep adapting. The world rewards curiosity at every turn. It's a game that fundamentally reset expectations for what open worlds can be, and it still holds up completely. Resident Evil Requiem. Capcom brought back Leon S. Kennedy and introduced Grace Ashcroft, an FBI analyst who's been assigned to investigate a series of murders at a hotel where her mother was killed years ago. The genius of Requiem is that these two characters play completely differently, and you switch between them throughout the story. Grace is survival horror limited inventory, scarce ammo, hiding under furniture, crafting weapons from blood. You play mostly in first person with her, and every corridor feels dangerous. Leon is action horror bigger arsenal, aggressive combat, chainsaws and axes, classic RE4 energy. You revisit some of the same rooms as both characters, and seeing a space you barely survived as Grace be casually dismantled by Leon is deeply satisfying. The story ties into decades of Umbrella lore while staying followable for newcomers. Outstanding voice acting, oppressive atmosphere, and some of the best pacing in the series. Donkey Kong Bananza. The team behind Super Mario Odyssey built DK's first 3D adventure in decades, and it's a system seller. Voidco steals a legendary gem from the mines where DK works, and the explosion sends him underground. Deep in the earth, he meets Pauline Yes, the one from Donkey Kong Arcade and New Donk City, who has mysterious powers and needs to get home. Together they dig toward the planet's core, where a legendary wish-granting power waits. The world is built from voxels, meaning almost everything is destructible. DK punches through solid rock, rips up chunks of terrain, throws boulders at enemies, and uncovers hidden paths by breaking through walls. The transformations you unlock throughout, including a form that gives you superpowered punches and one that lets you glide, add even more tools. The level design is wildly creative, with each layer of the planet feeling completely different.
Smash enemies, walls, the ground,
and most things you can get your hands on with incredible force, destruction.
Super Mario Odyssey. Bowser kidnaps Peach and plans a forced wedding. Mario gets knocked off a sky ship, meets Cappy, a ghostly hat, who can possess enemies and objects, and the two of them chase Bowser across a globe-trotting adventure through wildly varied kingdoms. The core mechanic is Cappy. Throw him at certain enemies, and you become them a T-Rex, a Goomba, a Bullet Bill, a Manta Ray, a Cheep Cheep. Each one handles completely differently, and usually unlocks some creative puzzle or traversal option. The kingdoms range from a ruined urban cityscape to a food-themed volcanic landscape to a prehistoric jungle, and each one is dense with power moons to hunt down through challenges, puzzles, and environmental secrets. The camera stays back and gives you full freedom. Movement is fluid, and deeply satisfying speedrunners still discover new techniques years later. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. You follow 6 soldiers from 2 warring nations, Kevs and Agnes, who have been fighting so long that they don't even question it. Their lives are short by design. Their enemies are determined by birthplace. When circumstances force soldiers from opposing sides to merge into a single unit, everything they were told about the world starts to crack open. The story is about cycles of violence, the meaning of a short life, what we owe each other, and whether systems built on death can ever change. It goes deep, it earns its emotional moments, and it has one of the most affecting casts in RPG history. Gameplay is real-time, but with active arts position-based attacks, status chains, class switching on the fly between all 6 characters, and a 7th hero slot. The class system lets you transfer abilities between characters and build custom kits across your whole team. Whether you're brand new to Switch or you've had one since launch, there's something here worth your time. Drop your own picks in the comments, would love to see what you're playing. Thanks for watching.